South Africa's Time travels to Vaalwater in South Africa's Limpopo province to visit a primary and a secondary school, both of which have benefited from P&G's outreach campaign for girls.
When we did some research, we realized that almost a third of girls who reach puberty either stay at home when they get their periods, and sometimes they even drop out of school completely. And we decided as a brand that this is something that we want to address. So in South Africa, we're in 74 schools at the moment, and in South Africa as well as Kenya, we are aiming to reach 10,000 girls every year.
The objectives of Always Keeping Girls in School is to educate young girls who are in rural or previously disadvantaged communities and schools with puberty education, to give them the bigger reason to stay in school, and to offer them sanitary towels to have them when they are on their periods. We work with professional nurses who would run the puberty education classes. The second element, I'll classify it under motivation or giving the learners the bigger reason to stay in school. We do it in different ways. The first one is identifying prominent young women, South Africans. We take them to different provinces or schools, and they will then interact with the girls or tell their own stories of how they dealt with the puberty phase. The last one, partnering with the provincial departments, we identify bright young girls who have been enrolled into the program to help facilitate entrance into tertiary education.
The literacy levels of the parents is too low. So there is a big gap between a person who is an academic and a person who has never gone to school. The majority of the women are domestic workers, and the men are actually working in the farms. So the majority of them are actually depending again on their social grants. The challenges are that they indulge a lot in alcohol and drugs and arranged marriages for small children, and their participation in the education of their children, even puberty education, is zero.
We are having approximately 713 learners in the school. It's a poor rural community with a lot of social problems. One of the big challenges for us is many of our learners are staying without any parental guidance or supervision, very often taking care of younger brothers and sisters. Sometimes the parents are working in another town and the learners are staying with an aunt or an uncle, or they are staying completely on their own. School girls getting pregnant is a real challenge to us, and it's a very unfortunate situation. A learner may only attend school up till 7 months of pregnancy, after which they must then leave the school until they are declared medically fit, and then they can resume their studies at the school. The local clinic in Vaalwater is addressing the girls on pregnancy issue. We also have the local NGO Waterberg Welfare Society that is focusing on HIV/AIDS prevention.
Well, the misbeliefs that affect understanding of menstruation in girls is that your period is your own problem, is your own fault. Most parents don't speak to their children about their periods. They just think it's something that should be kept secret, and they feel uncomfortable about it, shy and embarrassed about it.
Girls tend to miss school when they have their menstruation because they cannot handle it. This affects the success of their studies hugely, because on those particular days, they miss tasks, they miss information, they miss teaching time.
During the educational sessions, I have learned that puberty is the changes in your body, the skin, hair, and even your emotions. I think that always keeping girls in school, it's a great thing. It has taught us so many things. It has shown us the way.
Small towns like Vaalwater have got a very serious challenge in terms of getting information, and without Procter Gamble, we would not be able as a department to reach out to all the kids in the province, and this is a major breakthrough for the Department of Education.
Because of the family background, they would not have sanitary towels. So now that they have them, their ego is raised, their potential is also, they look like the other kids who are not from farms. So the self-confidence in them is also enhanced.
Girls tend to be more relaxed, more accepting of menstruation, and even when they see an always nurse walks in the school, like in the lower classes, they're in a hurry to get to grade 6 so they can speak to you and ask you about it. And then I find that they also know better. They're well informed as compared to some years back when I started working.
They do know what's going to happen to them, knowing or understanding the changes in their bodies, and then what they must do and what they must not do when they had periods. And then the other thing is hygiene. We start educating the girls from the age of 10, especially when we do life skills in the classroom. The problem that used to cause them to stay away from school is that they don't have pads to help them. So the thing that they use, they are so shameful to come to school putting them on.
I'll feel more confident because I learned about changes and menstruation is not a disease.
What I've learned today from the nurse session is that I now know how to look at the calendar and know when my menstruation is coming so that I can put the pad in my bag. Do not stay at home because school is very important.
If we get a request to say, do allow the boys, we will. And the reason is simple. Research shows that one of the key issues which makes the girls to stay away from school is bullying. When you include the boys, they get to understand what actually happens. But they're also more sympathetic to understand that this is a serious issue, it's not a laughing issue.
If we have road shows on the program to parents, I think it will help. Because it can be a one-man show. It can't be only the department. We also need the community to be involved in this so that there is paradigm shift on their part.
I would want them to have more responsibility in terms of co-parenting, but also co-educating. I would rather take a word from my parents than anyone else. And if parents will start the education at home, it will probably make our life easier that by the time you go to the school, that we are actually speaking the same language.
I would say to parents, be your daughter's friend. Talk to your daughter long before they even start so that you develop that bond. And then when periods come, talk to your daughter about it. Don't be afraid, don't be cagey about it. It's normal. Admit that you also go through it and give her some tips how to go about it and give her support, as much support as possible, because they need that.
So one of the main results, obviously, is to make sure that girls actually attend school. So we look at school attendance levels, and that's the main metric of whether the program is successful or not. And a secondary result that we didn't expect in the beginning is that you actually find a drop in teenage pregnancy rates in the schools where the program is implemented, because now suddenly girls understand what is happening to their bodies and they're more confident as well, and so you find that they take more responsible decisions for themselves.
A pilot study for the campaign in the Eastern Cape noted that school attendance of girls had increased from around 70 to 92%. Definitive school dropout by girls and teenage pregnancies had also both been reduced by half.
But then there's also the motivation that we give the girls and the access to educational resources that we give them, like career guidance. And for me, the best thing about this program is when you actually find a girl that never realized that she could have a dream for herself, and suddenly you're opening a world to her where she actually believes that she has a future and that she has an important role to play in making that happen.
Education in Africa is still a challenge, and I think what we have seen though are quite a few success stories, and one of the key success stories is in the enrolment rates. For example, Tanzania has been able to enroll an extra 3 million children over the last 5 years, which is incredible. But on the other hand, we have what's coined twin crisis. There's still many children who are not enrolled in school across Africa. Indeed, 30 million children are still out of school. So we have an enrolment challenge, but we also have a quality of education challenge. And this certainly has been recognised across a lot of Africa, and many African governments are investing a lot more in education than they did before. Indeed, some governments are investing almost 25% of their budget, Lesotho for example. And this is in recognition of the fact that education is critical and it's key. But there is still a need for more schools, more teachers, more books. But what is really interesting again is this innovation across Africa. And we can see the use now of mobile phones in classrooms, which will help. It's not the solution, but there is something going on across Africa where you can use these new technologies, and this is going to be fascinating in the next few years.
Thank you to all our contributors. Join us next month on Tuesday, the 8th of October, where we travel across Africa to bring you more on inclusive business. But for now, thanks for watching.